go. No?
I can't do it.
You say you're not gonna? That's all right.
Matt, 8-part question.
Oh.
How did, I'm not going to ask you about Jerome and Raekwon. We know they played well. Among some of your other young defensive players, how did Torrey grade out last week? How did Charles Harris do last week when you looked at tape?
Yeah, I think they both performed admirably for us. Obviously, both kind of played larger roles for us just due to the circumstances. Torrey was good. He competed. Really had kind of one play in the run game, one play in the pass game that he kind of got loose on. Other than that, he's really competitive, and with Torrey, it was good to see him firing up in the run game, and fitting some of the runs and tackling, which is good for him, and competing down the field in the pass game. I thought he played pretty well, and same with Charles. Obviously with Charles, you'd like to see him finish that sack or a couple. He had a chance to have a really, really big game. Played well for us, did a good job, plugging in and played with a lot of energy. Like, it was probably one of the played faster than I'd seen him play in a while, which was good to see. Man, you just like to see him finish a couple of those that he had his hands on Andy a couple times, but was flying around, which is kind of again like what we've been preaching to him, is just go play fast, and so he kind of did that, which was good to see. So I was happy that both those guys kind of took advantage of their opportunities.
I want to ask you about your mindset or approach when you're facing a team that utilizes two backs in two different ways. How do you approach that as a play caller?
Like Chicago, we talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
No, Miami too, but yes, Chicago.
I didn't know about Cincy, or I'm trying to.
How do you have a specific set of plays for when this guy's in the game versus?
Yeah, I don't know if specific set of calls or plays. You try to see how they're utilizing those players. Not just backs, anybody. But obviously they have those two backs. Have different skill sets. The interesting thing with Chicago is and they do a good job. I think they do a pretty good job of sort of self-scouting. So I think they understand, we're looking at that, and so they try to balance it out. So it's not always like, hey, 24 goes in the game and it's going to be this always power run game, and 29 goes in and it's empty spread out. They do everything with both players. You know what I mean? So, it's not a game where you can just, oh, hey, 24's in, let's all load up and put 40 guys in the box, and 29's in, let's put 10 DBs on the field. Because they run the ball with 29, they pass the ball with 24. So you just sort of try to get a feel for how they're utilizing those players and what their strengths are. And again, anything on defense, you always just try to take away, or do the best you can to take away or limit the strengths of the opposing offense. So. Yeah, we try to study sometimes some teams, they have different play calls and are running, I don't want to say running different offenses, but really featuring different plays, with a different back in there. These guys do a pretty good job of trying to kind of mask that. So it's not as clear cut as some other weeks are.
I've always heard that the book on new head coaches or first time first time.
I got to get your book, man.
You'll know what they're running after about 5 games.
Yeah?
Or just rookie quarterbacks have a feel for what they're doing or the strengths and weaknesses. I guess that's not accurate.
I don't know. They've only played 4 games. Yeah. So we're still in that book. So I still got one to play. This offense is they're a unique offense. Obviously, it's got sort of some roots in some of the stuff that's going on in Kansas City, Philadelphia, and those sort of things. So, they dress up a lot of stuff. They've got a lot of motions and jet sweep actions, and again using the backs in different ways and putting guys out in different personnel groups. So, and every week, this offense is going to feature some sort of trick plays and gadget type stuff, and just unscouted looks are going to give you stuff that you haven't seen. So I'm not sure that we've seen all that they have to offer yet, to be honest with you. Again, especially coming off the bye week, I think they're all offensive coaches are saying you give them more time, they're going to start drawing up stuff in the dirt. So, I think I wouldn't say that it's sort of like, oh man, okay, we've seen all their tricks and now we're ready to hone in on it. I think we're preparing for some sort of of stuff and things we haven't seen, and you just try to sort of extrapolate out on what you're predicting, sort of where their next moves are and those sort of things. So this is a pretty expansive offense. Obviously, again, they have a lot of different ways to get the ball to different players. So I wouldn't say that I feel safe in assuming that we've seen everything they have to give.
Matt, we've seen obviously a ton of Minkah. I think 42 of the 60 defensive snaps last week. That being said, has it entered your mind at all about, is there a way we can get him on the field every play? Is there a need to at this point? Has that thought process even crossed your mind?
Everything crosses my mind, probably. We're putting a lot on Minkah right now already, as it is. He's, we've obviously, had some smaller injuries, in different spots back there. So, I just think we're conscious of not putting even more on his plate, too much on his plate too soon. I mean, we're asking a lot. I mean, he's, we're plugging him in some different positions at both safety spots and nickel and those sort of things. So, he's a good player. We obviously want our good players on the field. So we're not necessarily trying to hold him back from that, but at the same time, there's a little bit of a diminishing returns. Putting too much on his plate. We don't want to take away from, what he's already been good at and the things that he's doing and the progress he's making in certain spots. So, we're kind of giving him what we think he can handle. And again, I mean, I mentioned it last week. I mean, some of the stuff, play times and snap counts are a little bit dictated by what we're getting from the opposing team too. So, I'm not trying to get him off the field. I can promise you that.
Minkah has a tendency to drop players for loss, especially on screen passes.
Yeah.
It seems like he diagnoses, reads, understands what's happening. What percentage of that do you feel is studying, and what percentage of that might be innate?
Do I have to put numbers on it, or can I just speak to it?
Or theory.
Okay. It's both. I would obviously, again, I think he is one of our better studiers. He's a student of the game. He loves it. He loves just absorbing ball and understanding the nuances of things. So I think he does, through film study and just, again, learning our defense and getting better in that realm of what we're asking him to do and where everything fits, from a big picture standpoint from our scheme, that frees him up to sort of know when he can take some risks and shoot his gun a little bit and do those sort of things. So, but I also think, one of the advantages for us of playing Minkah down like at a nickel type spot is he's a bigger body in that role. So some of that screen game where you have perimeter screens and we feel that's a pretty good matchup with receivers trying to block him in the screen game. So some of that's a physical thing for us. We think that's a decent matchup in a lot of instances that he's a bigger, more physical nickel than a lot of teams get to play with. So, there's a little bit of, to us, a physical advantage to that. And again, I do think, he's getting a better understanding of our scheme and where his leverage and where his help is, so he knows where he can take his risk. And then he does do a good job of studying opponents and just getting a feel for the game. And I think this is something I've mentioned in the past with Mink. He's very good in game. Again, because there's going to be some things he still hasn't seen, or just some sort of nuances, like just again where he hasn't just gotten the volume of plays. But as it happens in real time, he's very good at adjusting. And if he doesn't see something the first time on the field, he comes over, he looks at the pictures and he kind of adjusts. So the next time something like that comes back up, he's ready to go. So. I thought that, like in the Jets game, I think it was that happened, like where he actually had a screen that he misfit the first time. He didn't see it and it got out on us, and you bring him over, and then the next time it's a 2-yard loss. So he does a good job real time of kind of taking that feedback and seeing where maybe he wasn't right, and then it happens right the second time. So
this past game, it seemed like it was more frequent blitzes and certainly more effective from you.
Oh yeah. Thanks.
Sorry.
That's all right. Oh, man, okay. Take it back.
I was getting to the question.
Okay.
What sort of went into the thought process on, I guess, being more aggressive in there?
Yeah, well, obviously, two things. I mean, we were a little shorthanded from a player standpoint. So, there was part of it that, we felt just maybe needed to generate some things. try to do some different stuff. I mean, some of it was we felt there were, we could take advantage of some things we saw in the protection game and those sort of things. I mean, that's just, it's part of the evaluation every week as you're game planning and you're studying. And, you got to understand it. Anytime you're blitzing and sending more players into the rush, you're taking players away from the coverage element. So there's a risk to it. It's not just, oh, that's great, we should just call a million blitzes every play, or every game. So, when you go into a game, I mean, it was part of it of our personnel and certain matchups versus that personnel, and we felt we had, some calls that we could kind of get after them. So, I don't know, I couldn't tell you my like tendency numbers in terms of pressures, but just we felt like we had to generate a little bit more, kind of from a schematic standpoint, as opposed to just kind of let personnel work. So that kind of all that went into it.
Do you learn more, I guess, about guys in those situations as far as a blitzer, like we saw Jerome get a couple sacks when he was used?
Shoot, he was free in the A gap. Let's not get carried away with Jerome here. I don't, no, I wouldn't say that. I mean, we hope to have a good feel. I mean, you do, I guess, like, as a blitzer, like, who's successful, and obviously, like a guy like Jerome, obviously finished 2 of those plays and got the quarterback on the ground, which is as important as anything, so, I would hope to think I'm not going to send guys that I don't feel like are good blitzers, so, but yeah, I guess you learn, if you send a guy and he has some success and you can generate some different things with him, and, again, the more threats to do that you have on the field, obviously the better it is, because whether you're sending them or dropping them or whatever, I mean, the more threats now, like, oh, hey, this guy 55, he can blitz a little bit. You got to be alert to him. He's not always just a cover backer. Now 47 comes and all of a sudden and 20 blitzes. Now, again, it helps anything else we're trying to do. Just if you're generating enough threats of blitzers on the field and they've had some success, then it leads to, just hopefully more, advantages for us.
Does whatever the offense have going on, like whether they're injured or banged up, or Gates talk to you, hey, maybe a little rougher week for us?
Our offense or their offense?
Your offense, like the Dolphins' offense, does that impact?
No. Nope. I try to shut out every team we play, and I'm assuming they're going to score 1 million points. So that's how we start our week. How's that?
With the turnovers, there's just such a huge difference.
Yeah.
This year and last year.
Yeah.
Outside of practice, focus on it. What has been the difference?
Man, I wish I had the answer to that, honestly. I think it's crazy. Again, the whole, like, speaking it into existence. I mean, you talk about having a point of emphasis. I mean, it's obviously something, and Adam has dedicated practice time to it. We've had specific periods every day almost for turnover periods and things that we're doing, and even it's been interesting. We spent a lot of time, like, talking about attacking the ball when we're tackling. We haven't had as many, like, fumbles. It's been obviously more interceptions. So I think that's, it's a lot of things. I mean, we've got good players in the back end, and we've got guys. Again, part of that's just the emphasis on being around the ball. I mean, because a lot of our picks have been tip balls and stuff gets knocked. I mean, obviously Kiko's, last week Rashad makes a nice break on it, and those sort of things. So, I don't know. I mean, I hope it's just, the guys are flying to the ball a little bit more, and so when those plays happen, that ball gets bounced up in the air. There's bodies around it to finish those plays, and I feel good about the guys we have in the back end in terms of having good playmakers that can, Rashad's got a couple picks, TJ, obviously X, so I don't know if it's a multitude of factors. If I had to answer, I probably would have done it last year.
Have you ever thought that I'm just spitballing ideas
Sure,
here,
come on, throw it at me.
maybe it's the caliber of quarterback you're practicing against on the scout team? I mean,
I will say, obviously carrying the quarterbacks that we've carried, and Brock and David obviously work most of the scout team reps for us, and both guys that are veterans that have played, and they it does help, but we had Matt Moore last year, for some part of that, who does a good job, and that does help just in general, having a guy like Brock, who's obviously played in the league and knows, he can look at a card and know what we're trying to get out of it and where the ball should go, and how you can tell him, hey, this is the coverage we're playing, so try to look this guy off and come back to this, and he can kind of execute that. So we've been good, man. I'll just, if you want me to expand on that a little bit, just to give a little shout out. I mean, our scout team's been great, man. Like, especially we've been, shorthanded a little bit these last couple weeks. I mean, all our starting receivers are taking reps on scout team for us. Like, maybe one period, but Kenny will jump in there, Albert will jump in there, Jakeem. It's been really cool to see. So, like, all those guys, like, feel that, like, hey, we're in this together. And, like, literally, like, Kenny will start a scout team period and take maybe one rep off the receivers, you know what I mean? But he'll run a deep route for us so we can kind of, obviously get a pretty good look at someone running through our defense. So, man, those guys have been doing a really good job. But having a quarterback that can kind of operate in a sort of a system and knows what you're trying to get as a defense out of that look or out of that play, that certainly helps.
Had you and Coach Chris felt after Sunday that it was the same level of efficiency and production with a three-man defensive tackle rotation, plus a little bit of Charles Harris, as you asked Coach Gase about today, and compared to four, obviously, when Jordan was here? Had you felt like there was a drop-off because of tiredness late in the game, or did you guys conclude we're just as effective with three primarily instead of four?
I mean, I think it's probably harder. It's probably more difficult on Chris than anybody else, just trying to manage that. You know what I mean? Again, when you have more bodies, it's easier to keep guys fresh and just waving guys out there and stuff. I think it puts a lot more on him to make sure that he's not letting one guy wilt on the vine out there, for 10 plays at a time. And, we had obviously a lot more success on third down last week, so we had some shorter drives, so it's easier, when you're playing in that world, when you're going 3 and out or when you have shorter drives, you get stops on third down. So where you don't have those extended drives, so that helped. So, I thought we did a good job of managing that group last week. And, ideally, ideally I'd have 46 defensive guys up. But so I would say, again, those guys battle. They're warriors, man. Honestly, our whole defense last week, I thought, just from that stand, we kind of went in shorthanded. We were banged up. And the effort and the energy level was outstanding. And guys that weren't feeling great that played, and guys we were shorthanded at D-tackle, and I didn't hear a word about it. They just, so credit to the tackles for just, they went out and knew they had a job to do, and they battled every play. And like I said, I think it was probably more difficult on Chris just managing that, and we helped ourselves out from a whole unit standpoint in terms of not being out there as long, and we had 20 less plays than we had the week before, which is easier to manage, rotation when you're playing 60 plays instead of 80. So it's probably a lot of factors there.
Matt, a couple more guys.
Yeah, sure.
In that same sense,
Good. Go ahead.
in that same sense, for how that game ended with offensive turnovers,
Yeah.
was there a message, or do you feel like you needed to share a message with the defense because of how that game ended last week?
No, the message is, we didn't play well enough to win. We left plays on the field. We did some really good things. Like I said, I thought they kind of had that warrior mentality, which I was like really proud of. But there were plays to be made, and we always preach about it doesn't matter, what's going on the rest of the game and those things. There's always meat on the bone, and we left plays on that field that, people think I'm crazy, maybe, but there's a couple plays that turn that game around if we make those plays, and we made a lot of plays, and we got some stops and did some. We improved on the third downs. We had pretty decent red zone defense. We did some things like that in areas that we're trying to work on. But the message was, man, we left plays on the field that we could have done something to turn that game around, and we don't control what happens on the other side of the ball, and that's not our world, and that's nothing that we concern ourselves with. So the message is, if again we want to be an elite defense, then we got to clean up the plays that we can clean up on our side of the ball.
Last question.
Oh, just
You said that you guys have turnover periods in practice.
We do.
I'm just curious what specifically you guys do that's unique to those periods.
Yeah, well, it's
Are you
different.
having the quarterbacks throw interceptions, throw poorly thrown balls? Practice?
No, we
Going
can't.
for those things? Or
No, we just.
what are you doing that you wouldn't normally be doing with your defensive drills anyway?
Well, no, so we literally have separate drills, like a separate period that he calls. Like, we do something different every week, but what we, two of the main points of emphasis coming into this season, were our tackling and takeaways. And so on Wednesday practices, when we have our pads on, generally, we have a tackling period, like a tackling circuit or something, where at the end of individual period, it's about depending on the kind of week, it's a 3 to 5 minute period that every group does tackling. Sometimes we circuit it and kind of do drills at each spot and move guys around. Sometimes it's like in their own groups. And then on Thursdays, we do the same thing with takeaways. So whether it's certain ball drills we're trying to work, or working on punching and ripping balls out and scooping, today we did kind of a little return drill. We've been getting our hands on balls, and I would say our interception returns are average to below average right now, so we're trying to work on understanding, like, hey, like, guys are watching, we're picking the ball off and guys are watching it happen instead of turning and trying to lead, convoy back up the field. Like, hey, we're getting our hands on some balls now we're the offense, like, let's try to go do something with it. So today, today's emphasis was on, hey, when we do recover a fumble or we do get an interception, like, let's go do something with it. The play's not over, let's not just all watch and celebrate, and so it's different every week, but just saying that every day, every Wednesday, we're doing a tackling something where it's emphasizing something, where it's an extra drill or something special, and every Thursday we're doing a turnover something. Could be a circuit, could be just certain ball drills, tip drills, could be fumble recovery or strip drills, ball carry, ripping things out. Whatever it is, we change it up week to week, but there's a point of emphasis to saying every week we're going to do this. Now, obviously, within our periods in practice, we're emphasizing, taking the ball away when it's in the air, and we're scooping every ball up on the ground and those sort of things. So within the course of practice, that's just naturally how it goes. But then we have this additional period that Adam's built into the schedule that's saying we're going to take, say, 5 minutes a day, and then we're focusing on tackling, or all we're focusing on this period is takeaways, not anything else that's going on. So hopefully we keep seeing the fruits of those labors.
What's the most unconventional thing you think you've done during one of those periods?
Oh, man, I don't know.
Something that just would be very creative, a very creative drill to practice.
Well, I don't think it has to be creative.
Turnovers are so much randomness.
Well,
That's
fumbles
why I'm
are.
curious about practice.
Yeah, I mean, again, you got to, fumble recoveries are random, but again, our philosophy, like in that world, is the more fumbles there are, the more opportunities you have, and you eliminate some of that randomness. So if we're attacking the ball, if we're always punching at the ball, the second guy in, and always trying to strip at things, well, if you put more balls on the ground, like the randomness, you at least have more opportunities to recover the ball. You know what I mean? So, in our coverage element things, I mean, we've tried to be aggressive, and we have a sort of a multi coverage package. So we change looks, and we try to give, different looks on one thing and drop in and try to, I don't want to say confuse quarterbacks, but we try to disguise what we're doing, and sometimes you get some balls thrown into it. But again, some of the emphasis is just running to the ball. So when it does get tipped, there's bodies there to catch it, you know what I mean? So I don't think we're doing like these unusual, like unheard of drills that no one has ever seen before. I'm not trying to give away my secrets or something, but again, I think plant that seed in people's minds, and you just keep talking and talking. It's like maybe it's like some Inception stuff. I don't know. We went back a couple levels and put turnovers in their minds, and it's been successful so far. So hopefully keep going.
Thanks, Matt.
Good.
Thank you.
Sure, guys.